Captain James Blackwood wiped sweat from his brow as the royal summons arrived. 6 years serving the Pernaxian Empire had taught him to expect the unexpected, but being called before Queen Vexara herself was rare. The message was terse. Immediate attendance required, no explanation given. "Trouble, Captain?" Lieutenant Cole asked, his 3 eyes blinking in sequence. "Probably," James replied, checking his uniform. "When royalty calls, you don't ask questions." The journey to the palace took 30 minutes in the hover transport. James rehearsed potential scenarios, perhaps another border skirmish with the Grellox Collective, or a special escort mission for the princess. He'd grown close to Princess Maela and her young son, Prince Talix, during their evacuation from the Noridian front last year. That harrowing escape had cemented an unusual friendship between them. The royal palace of Pernax Prime loomed ahead, crystalline spires catching the twin suns' light. James was escorted through labyrinthine corridors by silent guards, their faces impassive behind ceremonial masks. The throne room doors swung open. James stepped inside, immediately sensing tension thick as smoke. The court had assembled, nobles, ministers, military officials, all standing rigidly along the perimeter. At the center stood Queen Vexara, her purple skin luminous under the chamber lights, dark wavy hair cascading past her shoulders, adorned with ceremonial gems that clinked softly as she turned toward him. "Captain Blackwood," she spoke, her voice carrying the distinctive melodic cadence of Pernaxian royalty. "Approach." James advanced, maintaining proper protocol with a half bow. "Your Majesty, do you know why you stand before us today?" "I do not, Your Majesty." The Queen's eyes narrowed. Behind her stood Princess Maela, looking uncomfortable, one hand resting protectively on young Prince Talix's shoulder. "Perhaps this will illuminate the matter," Queen Vexara said. She nodded toward her grandson. "Talix, repeat what you said earlier in the royal gardens." The young prince, barely 6 years old by Earth standards, stepped forward. His purple skin was lighter than his grandmother's, his eyes large and expressive. He glanced nervously at James, then spoke clearly. "MotherFKer." A collective gasp rippled through the court. James felt blood drain from his face. "Again," commanded the Queen. "Tell everyone who taught you this word." Talix pointed directly at James. "Captain showed me. When the bad ships came." Queen Vexara's posture stiffened. "Captain Blackwood, you have been entrusted with the protection and proper influence of the royal family. Yet you have introduced vulgar human language to the future ruler of our empire. This court demands an explanation for this corruption of our heir." James swallowed hard. The memories of the Noridian front came flooding back. The ambush, the desperate fight. Princess Maela and young Talix trapped in the diplomatic vessel while he fought off raiders with everything he had. Words had indeed escaped his lips during that battle, words not meant for royal ears. "Your Majesty," he began, "I can explain." The throne room fell silent as James gathered his thoughts. He could feel hundreds of eyes upon him, some curious, others openly hostile. Among the Pernaxians, language was sacred. Words carried weight beyond their meaning. To introduce a royal child to profanity was tantamount to blasphemy. "I await your explanation, Captain," Queen Vexara said, her 4-fingered hand gripping the ceremonial scepter tightly. "And I caution you to choose your words with exceptional care." James straightened his shoulders. "Your Majesty, during the evacuation from the Noridian front, the royal transport came under heavy attack. Princess Maela and Prince Talix were aboard when 3 Greylox raiders appeared from the nebula." Princess Maela stepped forward. "Mother, perhaps we should discuss this privately." "No," the Queen interrupted. "The court has witnessed the corruption. They shall witness the accounting." She gestured for James to continue. "I piloted the escort fighter," James resumed. "The raiders had disabled our communications. We were alone, outgunned, with the royal transport's shields failing. I engaged the enemy while broadcasting on all frequencies, hoping allied forces might hear." He paused, uncomfortable. "In the heat of combat, I used colorful language." "Colorful?" The Queen's tone was dangerous. "My grandson, third in line to the Pernaxian throne, is now shouting obscenities in the royal gardens." "Colorful seems inadequate, Captain." An elder minister, Bavix, his purple skin wrinkled with age, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, if I may. The human's influence is clearly corrupting. We have warned about allowing outsiders such proximity to the royal family. This incident proves our concerns valid." Murmurs of agreement spread through the court. James felt the situation slipping away. "The prince was in the transport's cockpit with me," Princess Mayella interjected. "When our pilot was injured, I had to take controls. Talix was secured behind us, and yet somehow he learned this phrase," Queen Vixera said. "I was broadcasting to the raiders," James explained. "When the third ship locked weapons on the transport, I positioned my fighter between them and expressed myself forcefully. The memory was vivid, his fighter spinning to intercept a torpedo meant for the royal transport, firing countermeasures while shouting into the comms every curse he knew, hoping the raiders would focus on him instead. "So you admit teaching my grandson this language?" the Queen stated flatly. "Not intentionally, Your Majesty." Intention is irrelevant," interrupted Minister Bavix. "Results are what matter. The prince now uses human profanity. The damage is done." Prince Talix suddenly pulled away from his mother, running to James's side. "Captain fights the bad ships," he declared proudly. "MotherFKers can't have us." Another shocked gasp echoed through the chamber. James winced. "You see?" Bavix gestured dramatically. "The child not only repeats the words but contextualizes them. This human has influenced the prince beyond mere vocabulary." Queen Vixera's eyes narrowed. "Is this true, Captain? Did my grandson witness you in battle?" Before James could answer, Princess Mayla spoke. "Mother, there's more to this story than you know. When the transport was hit, systems failed. The separation between cockpit and cabin collapsed. Talix saw everything." The Queen's expression changed subtly. "Everything?" "Everything," Princess Mayla confirmed, her eyes meeting James's with unexpected warmth. "Including what happened after the transmission." Princess Mayla stepped to the center of the throne room, her royal bearing commanding attention despite the Queen's presence. Her gaze swept across the assembled court before settling on James. "Perhaps, Captain Blackwood, you should tell them what happened after your colorful transmission," she suggested. James nodded, recalling that chaotic day with perfect clarity. The third raider had launched a torpedo directly at the royal transport. My fighter's weapons were depleted, countermeasures exhausted. There was only one option remaining. Queen Vixera leaned forward slightly, her long dark hair shifting across her shoulders. "Continue." "I positioned my fighter to intercept the torpedo physically," James said. "A calculated collision to detonate it away from the transport." "A suicide maneuver," the Queen observed, her voice betraying a hint of surprise. "A necessary one, Your Majesty." James's eyes met Princess Mayla's briefly. "The torpedo impacted my starboard wing. The explosion damaged my navigation and life support, but the transport survived." Princess Mayla touched her son's shoulder. "Talix, tell grandmother what happened when Captain's ship was damaged." The young prince's large eyes brightened. "Captain's ship was broken." The bad ships came back. Captain said, "Stay behind me, MotherFKers can't have them." Then, he made explosive gestures with his small hands. Big lights. Captain's ship was on fire, but he kept flying. James noticed the court's reaction shifting, from disgust to something more complex. Even Minister Bavix appeared conflicted. "With my ship crippled, I maintained position between the transport and the remaining raiders," James continued. "Princess Mayla skillfully kept the transport moving toward Pernaxian space, while I used what was left of my fighter to shield them." "The captain was injured," Princess Mayla added softly. "His transmissions remained open. Talix heard everything, the pain, the determination. We both did." A memory surfaced in James's mind, blood trickling into his eyes, oxygen levels dropping, controls barely responding as he kept his damaged fighter between the raiders and the precious cargo he'd sworn to protect. When reinforcements finally arrived, Princess Mayla continued, Captain Blackwood was barely conscious. Yet he refused to break formation until our safety was guaranteed. James swallowed hard. "Your Majesty, I apologize for the language the prince learned. It was never my intention to save my daughter and grandson at the expense of your own life." Queen Vixera interrupted. Her expression had softened imperceptibly. "That much is evident, Captain." The Queen rose from her throne, an uncommon action that silenced the room instantly. She approached James, her movement graceful despite the formality of her ceremonial robes. "You and I have never spoken privately, Captain Blackwood," she said. "An oversight, perhaps. My daughter speaks highly of you, more highly than I realized." Something in her tone made James glance toward Princess Mayla, who was watching them intently, a flush of deeper purple coloring her cheeks. "Mother," the princess began, but Queen Vexara raised a hand for silence. "I begin to understand why my grandson has developed such colorful language," the queen said, "and perhaps why he has developed other human characteristics as well." Prince Talix beamed up at James. "I want to fly ships and fight bad guys like Captain." Minister Bavix cleared his throat. "Your Majesty, while the captain's bravery is commendable, the influence remains concerning. The royal bloodline is strengthened by courage and loyalty, Minister." Queen Vexara cut him off. "Qualities this human has demonstrated abundantly." She turned back to James, though perhaps with questionable vocabulary choices. For the first time since entering the throne room, James felt a glimmer of hope. Queen Vexara circled James slowly, her purple fingers trailing thoughtfully along the ceremonial scepter. The throne room remained silent, the court watching with collective breath held. "Captain Blackwood," she finally said, "I find myself in an unusual position. You have simultaneously corrupted and protected my bloodline." A subtle smile played at the corners of her mouth. "An interesting paradox." Minister Bavix stepped forward again. "Your Majesty, with respect, the human's influence extends beyond this isolated incident. The princess and prince have been changed by their association with him." Princess Mayla's posture stiffened. "Changed, Minister? How precisely have we been changed?" The elderly minister hesitated, aware of suddenly dangerous waters. "Your Highness, you have adopted human mannerisms, human perspectives. The prince imitates the captain's behavior. There are rumors." "Rumors?" Queen Vexara's voice sharpened. "Speak plainly, Minister." Bavix bowed deeply. "There are whispers that the princess and the human have developed a relationship beyond professional boundaries." A ripple of murmurs spread through the court. James felt heat rising in his face while Princess Mayla's skin deepened to a richer shade of purple, the Pernaxian equivalent of a blush. "I see," said the queen, turning to her daughter. "Is there truth to these whispers, Mayla?" The princess lifted her chin, meeting her mother's gaze directly. "There is, Mother." The throne room erupted in shocked exclamations. Queen Vexara silenced them with a single raised hand. "Explain," she commanded. Princess Mayla moved to stand beside James, her fingers brushing against his, a bold gesture before the entire court. "After the Neridian incident, Captain Blackwood spent 3 weeks in our medical facilities. I visited him daily. Talix refused to leave his side." "The captain tells good stories," Prince Talix interjected, "about earth and oceans and mountains that breathe fire." "Volcanoes," James corrected gently. "Yes, volcanoes," the prince exclaimed excitedly. Princess Mayla continued. "During his recovery, we learned about each other's worlds, cultures, beliefs. We discovered more commonalities than differences." Her voice softened. "When he was finally discharged, I found I did not wish for our conversations to end." Queen Vexara's expression remained carefully neutral. "And so they continued?" "They did," Princess Mayla acknowledged. "First officially, cultural exchange programs, diplomatic functions. Then unofficially." Her fingers intertwined with James's. "Then privately." The admission hung in the air like a physical presence. James fought the urge to step away, to protect Mayla from the consequences of their relationship, but her grip tightened on his. "Captain Blackwood has become important to both of us," she continued. "To Talix, he represents strength, courage, protection, qualities valued in both our cultures. To me," she paused, searching for words. "To you, he is a lover," Queen Vexara finished bluntly. The princess met her mother's gaze unflinchingly. "Yes." Minister Bavix stepped forward again, his voice strained with outrage. "This is unprecedented. A human and a royal princess? The bloodline has already been influenced," Queen Vexara interrupted. She looked at her grandson thoughtfully. "Talix does not merely repeat the human's words. He emulates his courage, his protective instinct." She turned back to James and Mayla. "How long has this been occurring?" "Almost a year, Mother," Mayla answered. "A year," the queen repeated. "And you chose not to inform me. I feared your reaction." "Our traditions, our history with other species," Queen Vexara nodded slowly. "Understandable concerns." She returned to her throne, seating herself deliberately. "Captain Blackwood, approach." James moved forward, stopping at the appropriate distance. "You have taken significant liberties with my family," the queen stated. Teaching my grandson colorful language seems the least of them. Part 5. The Decision. The throne room had grown uncomfortably warm as Queen Vaxara studied James with penetrating eyes. Her fingers drummed a slow rhythm on the armrest of her throne, each tap echoing in the silence. Captain James Blackwood, she finally spoke, using his full name for the first time. You stand accused of 3 things: corrupting a royal heir with inappropriate language, engaging in an unsanctioned relationship with the crown princess, and, she paused dramatically, fundamentally altering the course of our royal lineage. James remained at attention, aware that his future and possibly his life hung in the balance. Pernaxian justice could be swift and merciless even toward allies. For the first charge, the Queen continued, the evidence is incontrovertible. Prince Talix has indeed learned colorful human expressions. Her lips curved slightly, though I now understand the context was one of protection rather than corruption. Minister Bavik stepped forward. Your Majesty, context aside, the human has— I am not finished, Minister, Queen Vaxara cut him off sharply. The second charge, an unsanctioned relationship with Princess Mela, is also clearly established by their own admission. Princess Mela moved to stand beside James, her hand finding his again. The gesture drew gasps from several court members. Mother, she began, I understand our traditions, but— As do I, Queen Vaxara interrupted, raising a hand for silence. Our traditions are the foundation of our empire. They have guided us through millennia of prosperity and challenge alike. Her gaze shifted to Prince Talix, who was watching the proceedings with unusual focus for one so young. Talix, the Queen called. Come here. The young prince approached the throne, bowing with practiced precision. Tell me, little one, Queen Vaxara said gently, what do you think of Captain Blackwood? Talix's face brightened. Captain is brave. He teaches me to be brave too. He says sometimes we must be scared but do the right thing anyway. And what is the right thing according to the captain? The prince considered seriously. To protect people who need protection. To fight for what matters. He puffed out his small chest. Like he fought for Mother and me. Queen Vaxara nodded thoughtfully. And would you wish the captain to remain with us here in the palace? Yes, Talix exclaimed without hesitation. He promised to teach me to fly when I'm bigger. Did he indeed? The Queen's gaze returned to James, something unreadable in her expression. Captain Blackwood seems to be making many promises to my family. James swallowed hard. Your Majesty, I would never promise anything I didn't intend to honor. So I believe, she replied. Which brings me to the third charge, altering our royal lineage. She rose from her throne again, descending the steps to stand directly before James and Mela. This is perhaps the most serious accusation, yet also the most interesting. The court waited breathlessly for her next words. For generations, our royal line has produced capable rulers, diplomatic minds, strategic thinkers, Queen Vaxara said. Yet in recent centuries, something has been absent. She touched her grandson's head gently. The fire of true leadership, the willingness to place oneself between danger and those who cannot protect themselves. She looked up at James. You stood between death and my family, Captain. Not because protocol demanded it, but because your heart commanded it. Her gaze shifted to her daughter. And you, Mela, have chosen this human not despite his differences, but because of them. The Queen stepped back, addressing the entire court. The royal bloodline is not merely about genetic continuity. It is about the preservation of qualities worthy of leadership. She gestured toward Talix. My grandson now speaks like a human warrior because he witnessed human courage. Is this corruption? Or is it evolution? Minister Bavix looked stricken. Your Majesty, surely you aren't suggesting— I am decreeing, Queen Vaxara announced, her voice ringing through the chamber. Captain James Blackwood is hereby formally recognized as guardian and mentor to Prince Talix, with all rights and responsibilities thereof. She turned to face James and Mela directly. Furthermore, should Princess Mela wish to formalize her relationship with the captain, the crown will sanction such a union. Shocked silence blanketed the throne room, broken only when Prince Talix clapped his hands excitedly. Does this mean Captain stays forever? He asked. Queen Vaxara smiled genuinely for the first time. It means, dear one, that our family grows stronger through new connections. She looked at James, and it means, Captain, that while I expect you to moderate your language around my grandson in the future, I recognize the heart behind your words. James bowed deeply. Your Majesty is most generous. Not generous, she corrected. Pragmatic. Our empire faces challenges that traditional thinking alone cannot solve. She reached out, taking her daughter's hand and James's, joining them together. New unions bring new strengths. Princess Maila's eyes shimmered with emotion. Thank you, Mother. The Queen addressed the court once more. Let it be known that from this day forward, Captain James Blackwood is family. His human heritage does not corrupt our bloodline. It enriches it. As the court slowly adjusted to this unprecedented proclamation, Queen Vaxara leaned closer to James, her voice dropping to a whisper only he could hear. However, Captain, should my grandson learn any additional colorful human phrases, you and I will have another conversation, one considerably less pleasant than today's. Her smile remained, but her eyes conveyed the seriousness of her warning. Understood perfectly. Your Majesty, James replied with a respectful nod. As the formal proceedings concluded, Prince Talix tugged at James's uniform. Captain, now you can teach me to fly and fight MotherFKers. James winced, glancing quickly at Queen Vaxara, who raised an eyebrow. Perhaps, James said carefully, kneeling to the prince's level. We should start with just flying for now, and maybe some new vocabulary. The Queen's soft laughter was the final unexpected sound in a day full of surprises.